Hi, my name's Ed, also known as Machete Eddie. This is my first video, and what I want to uh, talk about in this video is my experience with religion through my life. So I'm not going to tell you my life story, but I'm going to tell you the parts of my life that were involved with religion, or where religion touched me in some way, and hopefully get to the point that I am currently as to what I believe and how I think about the situation, the relationship with religion. Okay, I was raised in a Catholic family, and we were Catholic to the sense that we went to church on Sunday. Religion was never mentioned in my house. We did not speak of, I don't remember the term God or any of that stuff that was involved in the religion came up in the house. So the only discussions with religion happened in the church. I lived in the country, and outside of the city of Kingston, and the church was a parish church that was about 2 miles from where I lived. It was a typical large stone building with stained glass windows and all of that sort of thing. And I went there because my mother and my father told me I had to go there, and that was it. I learned to do the rituals. I learned that on Saturday, many Saturdays, we went to confession, and the next day in church, in Mass, we had communion, and that was a big thing. Nobody ever explained to me what was going on, why we were doing this. I did have a catechism class somewhere along the way, a catechism class or two. So I knew a little bit about, you know, the host that I was getting in communion was supposedly the body and blood of Jesus. I understood that. So that was my experience. As I said, no discussion of religion in the family ever, and so that was my experience with religion until I left home at about, I guess I was 18 or 19. Now, so nothing other than going to church while I was living at home with my parents, I had no connection with religion. I don't remember any discussions, but I was in high school. I was a confused young man, let's say the least. I met a girl in high school when I was in grade 12. And this girl seemed to me to be the hottest thing in the high school, and we somehow became a couple. I had no idea what she found in me, because I was a country nerd. I wasn't a good student. I certainly wasn't. I wasn't a great athlete. I did a little bit of, played a little bit of sports, but I certainly wasn't a stud or anything like that. But anyway, we became a couple, and lo and behold, she became pregnant. I have no idea how that happened. Well, I know how it happened, but I have no idea how it ever came to the point that she actually had sex with me, but obviously that happened. She became pregnant. Now those were the days when you get your girlfriend gets pregnant and you get married. That's it. That's the way it works. There were no other choices. But I thought it was a problem. We were keeping this secret. She was pregnant, and we were keeping the secret from her parents and my parents. We were terrified, didn't know what to do. But I thought, okay, I'm going to be a responsible young person, and I'm going to go and talk to the priest at the church and tell him the problem. She was not a Catholic, not hyper religious, but she belonged to another religion, and she was not willing to become a Catholic. And so that was the problem. So I went to the priest. First time I ever had a conversation with a priest or any other clergy person in my life, and one of the few times I've ever had a conversation with a clergy person since. But anyway, I went and talked to the priest. I told him the problem. I said, look, this young woman, she's wonderful, I love her, she's pregnant, we have to get married. And the problem is she's not a Catholic. And so the priest asked me some questions, and I explained, I've talked to her and there's no way she will go through the process of becoming a Catholic. And the priest summed the whole thing up like this. Well, given the situation, if she doesn't want to become a Catholic, there is no point in you letting a little bit of, what did he call it? A little bit of sentimentality come between you and the church. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. I couldn't believe that this man that I expected was going to help me just sloughed it off like that. Said, just forget about it. I don't know what the hell he expected I was going to do. What am I going to do? Just run away? Or I don't know. He didn't give me any advice. So I walked out of there very confused, and I went back to her and said, well, that's not going to work. We can't get married in the Catholic Church, but we have to get married. So we ended up going and talking to a minister in a church that to me didn't even seem like a church. It was a building that looked like a house, a white building. And the only thing that made it even look like a church to me was it had a great big yellow cross painted on the side of the white wall. I went into this place, and again, it was, you know, I'm used to a Catholic church where there's statues and there's stained glass windows and there's a huge altar in the front and all of that stuff. So anyway, so we talked to this guy, this minister, and he says, yes, we can marry you. You have to get a license, you know, and do all that stuff. And we did it, so we got married. But after the conversation with the priest, I walked away from the Catholic Church, and maybe I was a little confused and disappointed that I thought this man was going to somehow give me some advice. I don't know what he could have done, but maybe he had no choice. But I totally left the Catholic Church, and now I need to point out that my relationship with the church was, I mean, by this time I'm 19 years old, and my relationship with the church was, I went there and I listened to this, and you know, the time in church was very boring for me, actually, because the whole thing was in Latin in those days, and the sermons sometimes were interesting and a little bit inspiring and stuff, but looking back, I have no idea what I believed. If you ask me, did I believe in God or something, I can't answer the question, because it just seemed to me like this whole thing was like, oh, maybe a bit of a fairy tale or something like that. So here I am. I get married. Crazy. Okay. So my relationship with religion basically stopped. I get married. We had a wonderful daughter. Da da da. All of that, but there was no religion. The only time I was ever in a church after that, until recent years, was when I went to a funeral or a wedding. I guess that's the only times I ever went. I moved. That marriage lasted a short time. I married another woman, and I ended up with a little bit of a relationship with religion again, because her parents, by the way, I did the same screw up again. The second person, I was in teachers college, my second girlfriend, she also got pregnant. Don't know how that happened. But anyway, so again, we had to tell her parents. This time at least we told her parents, and we got married in a church, but it was just, for me, it was just, that's the way you did it. You got married in a church. I think it was a Pentecostal church or something like that. Her parents were Pentecostals, and I had to deal with that because I had no religion in my life. By this time, I was kind of reading Ram Dass and the Eastern religions, and doing a little yoga and some meditation and stuff. That marriage was pretty much a happy and good thing for me in my life. It ended, but I discovered later that good things end as well as bad things. There was no really bad things. It came to an end, and that's another story, but my second marriage came to an end. Then I became a couple with the wonderful woman I'm with now. Her name is Glenda, and Glenn and I, when we became a couple, we discussed and ended up moving to Mexico, where I now live. So I'm jumping huge chunks of life here, but that's the way it worked. I'm living in Mexico, wonderful life, da da da. Make some friends. I'm a musician, and I'm making musical friends and all of that. And on occasion, almost exactly 20 years ago, I was at a party here in Mexico, and it was just a party, get together, and this usually you drink and we smoke some pot or whatever, and we're partying. There was no real theme or anything, but one woman there said, I have a conversation idea. I'd like to talk about this idea. Okay, what's that? She said, my question is, and I'd like everybody to respond to it, do you believe in God? Well, that hit me like a ton of bricks, and I kind of was going, oh boy. And on the one hand, it was, well, that's kind of a silly question, and the other hand, it was good. But the kind of person that I didn't have any confidence in my own opinion. I was not a thinker in any way, and even though I had gotten some education, my idea of being an intellectual was to talk as though, to say something that sounded good. So when it came my turn in this do you believe in God question, I got into this little intellectual dance. And it was like, oh, well, it depends if God is a little bit of, my Eastern reading Ram Dass and yoga and my meditation thing kind of come out. It was, depends on what God is, God is everything and everywhere. Well, sure, you got to believe in that. But the next day, I woke up thinking, that was a bullshit answer. I didn't let them know who I was. I lied. So it got me thinking about this. I thought, what the hell? What do I believe? So I started to investigate. I started, well, what the hell is this all about? Now, I got online. Now I'm talking 20 years ago, so the internet was brand new, you know, and I think you still had to put in www something, or, you know, back then. But anyway, with my research, I found this site, and the site was called God is Imaginary. 50 Easy Proofs. You can look it up right now. It's still online. And as soon as I saw that, just the fact that that link was there and there was people talking like that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And holy shit, they sound like they're saying what I actually believe, that this idea of deity is not a real thing. So I started doing a little more investigation and basically reading. I read all 50 proofs of the God is Imaginary, on the God is Imaginary site. A little bit of other investigation, finding some other people. There were other people out there that were saying this God thing is, you know, is not real, and that. And people were calling themselves atheists and all of that. And over a short period of time, I came to the point where, through my investigation, and for me, it was like a moment, an incredible moment. I said, wow, I am an atheist. I have no belief in all of that stuff. Not only did I come out as an atheist, mostly to myself, because I was finally able to say, I do not believe that. I trusted my own thinking, and I was saying, no, I don't believe that anymore. I have no belief in that God thing. But it was not only that, a parallel thing was that realization brought me to understand that I was starting to be able to, I trusted my own instincts, my own thinking ability, and I developed a realization that, hey, what I believe, what my opinions are valuable, and I certainly can live my life by them, and I no longer have to pretend anymore. So that's as far as I'm going to go with this story. That's where I'm at now. 20 years later, I've been doing a lot of investigating, and I've been involved in narratives, the discussions about the existence of God and the value or problems of religion and all of that. But that's for in case I make more videos of this type. Thanks to my cameraman Marco, and I think we're done with this video.